He's been called a voice for the silent majority and the guy who holds Dead by Daylight's developers accountable. He's also been labeled a hypocrite and a manipulator. For years, Scott Jund has been one of the most prominent and polarizing voices in Dead by Daylight. As one of a handful of top creators, his name is consistently found at the heart of major conversations, controversies, and meta-defining shifts in one of the world's most popular horror games. His opinions can launch hundreds of Reddit threads. His analysis can change how thousands of players see the game, and his critiques often seem to echo in the halls of YouTube and player conversations. But that begs the question, who is Scott Jund? Before we dive in too deep, I need to offer a quick moment of transparency. In his video titled Scott Battles Mintskull about Killer being harder, Scott pulled up a comment I had left on Mintskull's video, where I'd mentioned that he seemed to be making a lot of mold breaker content recently. He was responding to myself and several other commenters who were echoing the same thought, telling the group of us to F off and that we were being annoying.
I was looking at some of his comments, and I just have to illustrate just one thing. Let me read a couple of these comments here. The problem with Scott's opinion is that purely subjective and that he's playing in high MMR when the matches are way different compared to mid and low MMR games. His mentality on the subject is, since I'm not experiencing it just must mean that it's not true. Scott has felt like mold breaker content for a while now. All his videos seem to be, this is what the community thinks and this is why they're all wrong. No hate to him, do what you want and all, he seems chill. I can't really stand watching his videos anymore because they're always, this is why your opinion is wrong for every subject. Scott's been pissing me off. I have no problems with him personally, but his videos are starting to feel like this is the problem with DBD and I'm going to tell you you're wrong and I'm right based off of my gameplay mostly. I get he's good at the game, he just comes off as arrogant and annoying a lot now. Everyone is wrong and I am right kind of person. Okay, so there's a lot more of these types of comments. Here is the first 20 seconds of the video Mintskull is reacting to. And let me be clear first off, saying I'm not going to sit here on an arrogant hill and say, no, your experience is wrong. I can't tell you what your experience has been. All I can do is hopefully provide evidence that things really have not changed very much at all. And some of the things that people are complaining about are actually good, not bad. So that's all I can do. But obviously I can't change what your perception of the difficulty of these matches has been. If you're finding the games harder, then that's accurate to you. What the fuck are you guys talking about? It's just one of my biggest pet peeves is people just commenting on shit that they have not even watched. It's so frustrating. I don't even feel like being nice to these people. If you're doing this shit and saying that I'm doing the things that I'm explicitly in the first 20 seconds saying that I am not doing, just fuck off. You're just so annoying. Just stop doing that. Oh my god. Anyway.
It wasn't a personal insult, and I'm not taking it that way. He seemed to be replying in frustration at the wave of negative comments towards him. People that were way more insulting than I was. I can't imagine the number of negative comments a creator of his size has to deal with. My opinion still stands, however, that saying you aren't doing something doesn't automatically make it true or invalidate someone's perception. I do wish he wouldn't tell commenters to F off, but hey, to each their own. With over 200,000 subscribers, he clearly knows what he's doing. This video is in no way a hit piece, and this is just a disclosure for transparency before we dive in. Speaking of creators and the community, many of you may know that Scott and his partner Jen recently went through a very difficult time when their cat Buddy had to be hospitalized. Buddy, who is a frequent guest star on Scott's lap during streams, was diagnosed with severe anemia and required extensive emergency care. The outpouring of support from his community was honestly pretty incredible, and on behalf of everyone, I want to send my absolute best wishes for Buddy's full and speedy recovery. It's a powerful reminder of how much our animal companions mean to us, which brings me to a cause very close to my own heart. I want to take a moment to thank my own amazing channel members, because 100% of all membership income is donated directly to the local animal shelters that I work with. A huge thank you to my Tier 1 Kilobytes, Polo, Jay Reynolds, Peter RJ, Evil Cherub, Bloodshot, and new member Alex Crow. And a massive thank you to my Tier 2 Megabytes, Kelnak, In Cairo, Winnison, Fox Rocks, ZSD, Crazy Creeper, Mirror Steer, Eden, and our new member, Mike C. If you'd like to join them, get your name on this list of amazing donors, and help animals in need, consider becoming a channel member today. But back on topic, before he was one of the most influential voices in Dead by Daylight, Scott Jund was a kid from Long Island interested in art of many forms, including gaming. This is the story of how he went from a small creator to one of the key voices of the Dead by Daylight community, and how he's still shaping its future. Long before he was an analyst of the entity's realm, Scott Jund was honing his craft as a creator, a journey stretching back nearly 15 years. His primary channel didn't start with deep dives into game balance, but with more personal content, like guitar videos and raw, unedited game footage. This early work showcases a creator finding his footing, driven by what seems to be a passion for hobbies like photography and a characteristically down-to-earth sense of humor. He moved from Long Island to Jacksonville, Florida pretty early on, and I believe he's still there today. It's strange to think that I myself might have passed him in a grocery store, since I also lived in Jacksonville for several years during the same time, completely unaware that I was crossing paths with a future voice for Dead by Daylight. This grounded beginning, far from the spotlight, shaped the candid and relatable voice that would later captivate hundreds of thousands of players. Also, a funny side note about the whole Jacksonville thing, when I was doing research for this video, I found a funny dream post by Scott discussing Adventure Landing that really brought me back. It's completely unrelated, but I spent many days at that park and it really threw me for a loop. Before content creator was a job that you could actually have, Scott's personal life was pretty normal. He dabbled a lot in games and spent time as a computer specialist at Best Buy, helping people figure out their tech problems. But a huge shift was on the horizon. In 2010, the release of Amnesia: The Dark Descent, a fantastic game, acted as a massive catalyst. He said himself that the game was a major turning point, sparking the idea that playing games could be a performance, content in its own right. He started making content, cutting his teeth on tough-as-nails games like the Dark Souls series and building a small but loyal following. It was a modest start, just another streamer in a rapidly growing sea of faces. But his big break, the moment that would lift him from a hobbyist to a real personality, was right around the corner. The opportunity that changed everything was an invitation to co-host a variety show on Twitch called Late Night with Cry and Russ. Unlike the relatively small-time work he'd been doing, this was a show that put him in front of a much larger audience. He was no longer just broadcasting into the void. Week after week, he sharpened his on-air persona, developing that candid, dry wit that would become his signature. The experience was invaluable. When he eventually dove into his own channel, he wasn't starting from scratch. He brought an established audience with him, a head start that most new creators can only dream of. Now a Twitch partner with a fast-growing following, he had found the perfect stage for his unique brand of commentary, the fog of Dead by Daylight. Scott Jund didn't just get popular in the Dead by Daylight community by playing the game well. He did it by taking the whole thing apart, piece by piece. His content is known for its deeply analytical and often brutally honest critiques of game design, perk balance, and the consistently changing meta. While his opinions might not always be correct to everybody, he speaks honestly from his point of view, and that's really important. He looks at Dead by Daylight not just as a game to be played, but as a system to be understood. In his videos and streams, he meticulously breaks down why certain mechanics feel unfair to him, why some killer designs are so frustrating, and how developer choices can have huge, unforeseen ripple effects on the game. Something he said that stuck with me a bit, he used an analogy to explain that while developers don't intend to make the game miserable, certain design choices can lead there anyways, like an architect designing a building without thinking about how people will actually walk through it. This analytical approach, mixed with his signature self-depreciating humor, really clicked with players who wanted more than just gameplay montages. They wanted answers, and Scott was providing them. As his channel grew, so did his role in the community. Scott became a central figure in the never-ending debate about the game's culture. He has consistently challenged the common idea that the Dead by Daylight community is uniquely toxic. Instead, he argues that the bigger problem is a widespread sense of entitlement, where players on both sides invent their own rulebooks and then get furious when others don't play by them. He often separates genuine toxicity, like hate speech, from what he sees as misplaced expectations, like getting angry over tunneling or gen rushing. Beyond that, Scott often brings up a point that gets lost in all the online noise. The huge majority of the player base is casual. They don't watch streamers, they don't read patch notes, and they definitely don't argue on Reddit. He uses the dev's own in-game survey data to back this up, even though we all know how biased it can be. But this reminds us, the very loud minority, that they aren't speaking for everyone. This is one large reason that I and many others see him as a mold breaker. He tries to speak for the players that choose not to. I'm not here saying that he's their elected voice. He doesn't know what they're all thinking, and I don't think he's always correct. But it's important to have a voice for those that just want to play after work and have fun, without being interwoven in the Dead by Daylight scene. When you're outspoken in a community this passionate, you're going to cause some friction, and Scott Jund has never been one to back down from a debate. His career has been full of public arguments and stances that have earned him both cheers and criticism. One of the clearest examples is his changing view on disconnecting, or DCing, from a match. Years ago, he admitted to justifying it in what he felt were extremely unfun games. However, he has since publicly reversed that position, now saying the practice is fundamentally bad for the game and that his old take was a mistake. This willingness to publicly reconsider his views and admit fault is something his supporters often point to. He also will frequently host debates with his critics on his own channel so he can prop up the people that disagree with him. Whatever your opinion of Scott is, hosting your critics for live debates and discussions is a widely respected practice, one that provides your argument with clarity and transparency. Scott's outspoken nature has led to numerous public disputes with other large content creators. A long-running, high-profile conflict has been with fellow creator True Talent. The feud has spanned years, involving disagreements over game balance, accusations of sending hate, and personal jabs. The situation escalated when True was removed from the Fog Whisperer program, an event that many in the community linked back to public friction between the two creators. More recently, his disputes with creators like River Sivir have escalated far beyond in-game debates. The conflict with River Sivir turned particularly ugly, with allegations that he or one of his community members doxed Scott by posting his personal information online. The situation reportedly even crossed more significant lines when he, or again a member of his community, allegedly called Scott's mother, dropping false, slanderous accusations, claiming to be part of an investigation into Scott for terrible illegal activities that I don't believe I'm allowed to say on here. I don't think it needs to be said, but I'll say it anyways. Just because I frequently don't agree with Scott's opinions, I can respect him for saying them, and I in no way believe he deserves anything close to what happened to him. These events, which played out publicly across YouTube and social media, cemented Scott's reputation as a polarizing figure who is often at the center of the community's most intense conflicts. So, how much can one creator really influence a multi-million-dollar game? It's complicated, and it's something Scott himself has talked about. He acknowledges that creators and community feedback have a limited, often indirect impact on what developers actually decide to do. He isn't fooling himself into thinking his videos are direct orders that the developers have to follow, and yet you can't deny that he shapes the conversation. His analysis gives players the words and frameworks to talk about their own frustrations and ideas. When Scott Jund drops a video breaking down a new killer power or a balance patch, the community listens. His opinions become the starting point for countless discussions across Twitch, YouTube, and Reddit, effectively setting the agenda for what people will be talking about for weeks. He may not be in the developer's meeting room, but his influence is felt across the game's ecosystem. To be fair though, that can be said about many Dead by Daylight content creators. But what do you think about Scott Jund's impact on Dead by Daylight? Has his analysis ever changed how you think or play? Let us know in the comments below, and if you enjoy deep dives into the people who shape the games we love, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss what's next. I'm a new content creator, and I always get filled with a sense of pride and joy that's hard for me to describe in words when I see you all engaging with my content. From a computer nerd at Best Buy to a leading voice in the fog, Scott Jund's path was defined by a critical eye and a refusal to back down. He found his audience not just by playing Dead by Daylight, but by deconstructing it, offering sharp, systematic analysis that gave a voice to player frustrations. He became a self-appointed spokesperson for the silent majority, challenging community narratives around toxicity while simultaneously engaging in public feuds that cemented his polarizing reputation. While he admits his direct influence on developers is limited, his impact is undeniable. He's an architect of discourse, a figure who has fundamentally shaped the very language we use to debate, critique, and understand Dead by Daylight. By admitting his own past mistakes, like his stance on disconnecting, while holding others accountable, he embodies the complex, controversial, and critical role he has carved out for himself. A legacy now inseparable from the very game of Dead by Daylight. Oh, that was a lot. Thank you so much for sticking with me to the end. If I've gotten any of the facts here wrong, please let me know in the comments. Scott has a hell of a history, and it's been a difficult journey patching it all together for you. I'm not perfect, and I'll pin any corrections in the comment below. But as always, thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the fog.